Pantheon has been made out to be the top pantheon of the verse since Zeus sits as its king, but there is rumors of a traitor within the ranks of the gods. This is hinted at when Loki confronts Buddha and asks him directly if he is a traitor. Though there is much more nuance and context that adds great foreshadowing that Odin, the supreme god of the Norse mythos, is in fact the traitor to the other gods. Yeah guys, I've been doing a lot of Black Clover content, you guys have been loving it, but I just want to put out there that I don't only want to do Black Clover, I also love Record of Ragnarok, and there's other series too that I really like and will probably be making videos on in the near future as well. But this is a theory of Record of Ragnarok. This is a series you should definitely check out. If you want to read it, just Google and you'll find ways to read it. Guys, if you want to talk about Black Clover or Record of Ragnarok, join my Discord called Cloverheim. We're getting more and more members, we're getting closer and closer to 1,000 members. You guys can go in there, you can rank up by being more active in the chat. You can even become the Wizard King by leveling up by being active in the chat. Also guys, I've made a bunch of Record of Ragnarok videos in the past. They've done pretty well for the most part. We can shoot for 1,000 likes because this is a pretty interesting theory, I think. And it'll be a good goal to hit to get more and more Record of Ragnarok viewers. But anyways guys, if you do enjoy, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. In Record of Ragnarok, or also called Shumatsu no Valkyrie, there is a tournament that will decide the fate of humanity. As the gods voted for all of humanity to be destroyed, the humanity gets one last chance to defend themselves. This is a tournament consisting of 1v1 fights called the Record of Ragnarok. If the human heroes can win 7 of these fights, they will be saved for another cycle of years until the gods vote again. Now at first this manga is kind of shown to be just focused on the tournament itself, not really any side plots, but this starts to change when Loki confronts Heracles about the Valkyries. This is because Heracles is great friends with the Valkyrie, as they are both demigods, and Gunhild and Heracles are even siblings. Though, Heracles' resolve and loyalty would seem to convince the god of mischief that he wasn't the traitor. The next god that Loki would question is Buddha, Buddha also being that of a demigod, a man who rose to the higher status of a deity. It is known to Loki that Buddha has a power called Common Destiny, a power that he knows seems to parallel the power of Volund, Volund being the power of the Valkyrie, where it allows themselves to turn into a weapon so that a human can have godly power. Buddha is a hybrid god-human, so Loki's going for him because he might possibly be siding with the embers of humanity that dwell within his blood and soul. This would lead to a confrontation, a near fight breaking out, Loki and the gods of luck versus Buddha and Kanjiro and his men, though the fight would be broken up by Odin and Zeus. Everyone would disperse, including Loki awkwardly, and then Zeus would say this to Odin. The records of Ragnarok are not going as expected, huh Odin? Then Zeus would turn back to go watch the fights because he's excited. But in this instance, Odin would turn around and smile menacingly, and this almost implying that is actually going according to his own plan, but not Zeus's. This is going exactly how Odin expected to it because he is a schemer. As he smiled menacingly, a dark energy would spread around him, and his mere presence would cause the plants in the garden to wither and die. I don't think it is just Odin being the betrayer here. I think his faction of the Norse gods are going to betray the other gods. Whether this is just to be the king of the gods or to help humanity, I don't know. But if we look at it this way, if the Norse were already a close second to the Greek Pantheon in this universe, they might actually be stronger now. Just think of what has happened in this tournament. 2 of the high-level Greek gods are dead, and Zeus, the strongest one, has gotten weaker due to his bout with Adam. On the other hand, the Norse have not lost any gods, and Thor has gotten even stronger as his fight allowed for the awakening of the full power of Mjolnir. So, the Greeks have gotten weaker, the Norse have gotten stronger. And something we can also look at in mythology, and this should be allowed because the prose and poetic Eddas are actually mentioned in this series, but in these Norse sagas, Odin actually gains power and vitality from war, meaning his power might be growing from this battle of the Record of Ragnarok. It would make sense because of its name. Remember, Ragnarok isn't just an apocalyptic event, it is a war. What if this is called the Record of Ragnarok because it is the start of a war created by the Norse, so they could weaken the other pantheons, power themselves up, and take the throne. It is important to note that in mythology, Odin is the leader of the Valkyrie. They do his bidding by finding great dead human warriors and taking them to his realm of Valhalla and turning them into valiant soldiers known as Einherjar who will fight alongside him in the Battle of Ragnarok. So it can make sense that the Valkyrie are actually working in tandem with Odin and Loki. Now you might ask, how is Loki working with Odin despite actively pursuing this so-called traitor? Well, I believe that this is just a part of their plan. Remember, Loki is the god of lies and deception, he's the god of mischief, he is very good at scheming. If they act as if they are looking for a traitor, it is less likely that they will be accused of being that traitor. So, them trying to put the blame onto other people makes it so that less likely that blame will come onto them. Not only that, but Loki going around and making accusations is already breaking the bonds of the gods. He nearly started a mini civil war between the gods of fortune and Buddha and his disciples, just by merely postulating that Buddha could possibly be the one that betrayed the gods, as, again, Buddha is a human and a god. If the Greek pantheon is weakened, the Norse strengthened, and the bonds of trust rusted away between the other pantheons, the throne would be all the more easier for Odin to take. It is very important to note that this whole area is called Valhalla, and they have a Valhalla constitution. Again, Valhalla is a realm in Norse mythology. It's Odin's realm. It's an afterlife where warriors go to train for Ragnarok. This constitution is the rules for all of the gods, all of the pantheons. It's not just the Norse. And in this constitution, it is written not in English, not in any other language. It is written in Norse runes. I find it quite interesting that though the Greeks are in control, this place is called the Valhalla Arena. The constitution is called the Valhalla Constitution and is written in the language of the Nordics by using all Norse symbols called runes. I think it is quite possible that the Norse were originally the leaders of the gods. It is very possible it could have been Ymir, the first Jotun, who was killed in the myths by Odin and his two brothers Vili and Ve, and then in the myths they would create the realms with his body. Or possibly it was Bor, Odin's father, who was the chieftain of the Aesir before Odin. Maybe he died, and this allowed Zeus to become the king of the pantheons. It makes sense because of the naming and the runes. I believe that Odin is simply trying to bring the authority and power back to the Norse pantheon. It seems obvious now that at one point they were the original leaders of the pantheons. One thing that could also add, and a possible explanation to Odin and his withering powers, that in the myths, Odin is half Aesir, half Jotun. So he's a hybrid. In the myths, the Jotuns are beings of darkness and chaos, and Jotun translates to devourer. Maybe it is the Jotun side of darkness and devouring, the Jotun side of him, that is the cause for what is happening in this scene. Something else I find interesting and suspicious is the fact that Odin hardly ever talks. It is often his ravens, Hudin and Mudin, who are talking instead. This could actually be a hint that ties to the Havamal. The Havamal being a skaldic poem that is part of the Poetic Edda. It is Norse mythology. It is the words of Odin, and he's essentially giving advice to whomever reads it. One of the famous pieces of advice goes along the lines of, "Those who talk a lot reveal a lot." Is Odin not talking a lot, so that he doesn't inadvertently reveal anything in regards to his plans? I think it's quite possible. There is a traitor, and Loki is the one looking for him, but I think it's because Loki knows who it is. He's just trying to cause strife between all the gods, and it's working. Buddha is now one of the suspects, and you have the gods of fortune being a dynamic. They're going against him now. You have the Greeks being weakened, and the Norse being strengthened through all of this. One other thing to add is that in Norse mythology, Odin has a weapon called Gungnir. It is a spear. It is incredibly powerful. It never misses, and it's basically one of those broken weapons like Mjolnir. But he isn't shown to have that in this so far. Now, what if, towards the end, one of the Valkyrie will turn into this spear, Gungnir, and Odin will wield it against Zeus and the other gods, so he will basically have his own Volund. Now, imagine, guys, how strong a human is with Volund. Imagine a god with Volund, let alone the supreme god of the Norse Pantheon, Odin, wielding a Volund. How strong he would be. He would be absolutely unstoppable. And it would also add an explanation to how he gets this spear, this magical, super powerful spear. One thing that needs to also be added is that in the mythology, while Loki is a being of chaos, he also is technically Odin's brother in the mythology. Now, in Record of Ragnarok, he is Odin's nephew, which kind of takes more from Marvel Norse and not actual Norse, but still, in this, Loki and Odin work together a lot in the mythology. Loki would trick other Jotun, and he would make them essentially provide good stuff for the Aesir. He would trick them a lot. It's quite funny how it actually works of how he tricks them. Like, for example, there was a Jotun that was going to make the protection barrier for Asgard, and what happened is he would basically do it if he got I think it was Freya in return, who was the beautiful Norse goddess, Odin's wife. But the deal was he had to do it in a certain amount of time or else he wouldn't get it, and he would basically just make it for them for free. And essentially what happened is Loki turned himself into a female horse, and this Jotun's male horse got attracted to it and ran off, and then it caused this Jotun to not make the wall in time. So essentially the Aesir got it for free. That was Loki helping the Aesir. So Loki does a lot of mischievous things to help Odin all the time in the myths. So what if he is essentially doing this for Odin to draw away Odin as a possible suspect of being a traitor, because they're working together, which is something they did all the time in the mythology in many different instances. Now that's kind of pretty much it for the theory, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. Leave a like. Let's shoot for 1,000. That'd be very much appreciated. Comment and subscribe. Hope you guys all have an amazing day. Plus...